Have you ever noticed how stress doesn't really go away? It just sort of pauses. You get past the current demand, you finally catch your breath, and then a few short days later, the stress is back. It might be a different situation, but it's the same feeling. And most people think that's just life. Life is stressful. It's the way it's supposed to be. But what if it's not? What if the way you've been dealing with stress and the relationship you have with it, what if that's the exact reason it keeps returning? The reality is stress is often cyclical. And that cycle can look different for all of us, but when you peel back the layers and understand what's going on under the surface, you can permanently disrupt that cycle. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video, so that by the end, you can start leading yourself through stress in a way that doesn't just alleviate the symptoms, but actually protects you from getting stuck in its clutches to begin with. But before we can get there, we need to chat for a quick minute about the most common stress reduction approaches, because most traditional advice lives in one particular lane. It teaches you how to recenter and refocus after you're already feeling the effects of stress. And don't get me wrong, taking a breath, meditating, going for a walk, all of these things are really helpful. But here's what they miss. If the only time you're addressing stress is when it's already in full swing, then you wind up locked in a cycle of stress, cope, recover, repeat. And that cycle is exhausting. But thankfully, there is a way to disrupt it and to permanently shift your relationship with stress. So how can we do this? Well, with a solution that operates at 3 different stages. Before stress happens, so it's preventative. While it's happening, so it acts as an intervention. And afterwards, as continued stress mitigation. In other words, we're not just talking about a coping tool. We're actually talking about a protection system that addresses your relationship with stress. And that protection system is embedded in self-leadership. Decades of research and field studies have shown that self-leadership increases your sense of control and your ability to influence what's happening around you. And that shift alone, feeling more capable and in control, that shift has been shown to significantly reduce stress and strain over time. At the same time, self-leadership also helps you regulate your emotional responses and reframe what's happening in the moment, which makes it easier to actually cope with stress instead of feeling overwhelmed by it. So instead of stress being something that happens to you and something that takes over your physiological responses, it becomes something you can actively lead yourself through. And here's where it gets really powerful. Remember those 3 different stages? Self-leadership empowers you to lead yourself through the stress before the pressure hits, while you are inside of it, and after it passes. It acknowledges that stress isn't just what's happening around you, it's also about what's happening inside of you, how you're thinking, responding, and interpreting the stress-inducing event. But I want you to notice what I didn't say. I didn't say it's about eliminating the things that cause stress, because the reality is there will always be stressors. But the degree to which those stressors impact you is significantly diminished when you lead yourself through them. So, how can you do that in real time? Well, let's walk through a 3-step framework that my clients always find really useful. Step 1, find the trigger. So once you realize you're stressed, immediately get curious and figure out where the stress started. Was it an internal thought, like looking at your to-do list and wondering how you're going to get it all done? Was it an incident, like a tense conversation that was maybe left without a resolution, so now it's just lingering? Or maybe it was a reaction. You saw a memo you weren't meant to see, and now you're feeling the weight of the news. Here's the thing, usually stress doesn't just explode out of nowhere. It builds from something. And when you can identify that something, you have a starting place for leading yourself through it, which brings us to step number 2, name the story. An old mentor of mine used to always tell me, nothing has meaning but the meaning you give it. And my work and research around self-leadership has really amplified this for me, because often the stress we carry isn't about the triggering event itself. It's about the story we tell ourselves after and the meaning we attach to that story. It comes from our inner narrative telling us things like, my list is too long, I don't have enough time to get it all done. Or, I'm going to lose that client after our tense conversation. Or, I saw the memo and now I just know I'm going to lose my job. Now, here's what neuroscience has taught us. When your inner narrative responds to those events, your brain treats those thoughts as real, even if they're not. So your body then responds with stress. And in order to disrupt that stress cycle and change our relationship with it, we have to name the story we're telling ourselves. By the way, if this is helping you see stress a little bit differently, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. That way, week after week, we can focus on the kind of self-leadership that actually changes how you experience your leadership and life. Okay, so we found the trigger. We named the story, and now it's time to move in to step number 3, where you choose your response. This is where you actively and intentionally step into your self-leadership. So instead of operating on autopilot and reacting and responding to the stress, you take ownership of leading yourself through it. So ask yourself, if you were taking ownership of how you respond to this stressor, and if you were deliberately leading yourself through it, what would that look like? Maybe you realize you need to prioritize one thing instead of 10, or challenge your belief that a singular tense conversation automatically leads to a terminated relationship. Or maybe you need to actively rein in your imagination and reach out to someone who can give you accurate insights on that memo. The point is, you're intentionally shifting from reacting to leading. And this is an important shift because this is the point where either the cycle continues and your stress escalates, or where you disrupt the cycle, change your relationship with stress, and watch it release. And once you can make this simple 3-step framework a regular part of your routine, you'll find that you're more in control, more grounded, and more at peace. And while the situations you deal with might not change, your experience with them absolutely will. Now, it's not lost on me that the piece of this we've just addressed is about a tool to use when stress has already grabbed hold of you. But as we talked about, self-leadership interacts with stress at 3 different stages. In the moment, yes, but also before it happens, as well as after. That's why it's such a protective strategy. Now, you've already learned the biggest piece, what to do in the moment. So let's just bookend it with the before and the after so that you can put the whole system into place. The important distinction here is that you don't wait for stress to come knocking on your door. No, you start noticing the patterns that indicate it's about to show up to begin with. As an example, are you more susceptible to stress at a certain time of day? For me, that's late in the afternoon and evening. Or are there certain environments or people that tend to create more stressful events for you? Or do you find that certain tasks and activities are inherently imbued with stressful elements? When you can identify your precursors to stress, you can actively start leading yourself through them before you even get there. That, my friend, is prevention. And then after the stressful moment passes, give yourself the gift of reflection time and explore what worked, what didn't, and what do you want to do differently next time. That's how this becomes an ongoing stress mitigation practice. Because now, stress is something you're equipped for. So you've changed your relationship with it and disrupted the cycle that once had you ensnared. By the way, if you want to continue your self-leadership journey right now, then check out this video right here. YouTube specifically picked it for you because they think you'll like it. I think you will too. So I will see you there when you're ready.